Hey, you changed your
Ooh, what?
background, not your shirt, but you changed your background. Good job, John.
Thank you. Oh, you got a new shirt on. What color's
I
that one?
do. That's a black one, same design. Here in
Are
Maui,
those new from this trip?
John, we're pretty cool here in Maui.
Are those from this trip?
No, I just keep three or four shirts here so I don't have to pack a bag to come
By the
here.
way, I know who it was who wanted to do the GoFundMe.
What are you talking about?
The GoFundMe program to raise money for new shirts for you. It wasn't Roxanne, but one of my customers in Tuscany on this trip reminded me it was him. It was a guy named Muddy Murphy.
Muddy Murphy. How do you get a name like Muddy?
Well, because Bill was with us in Scotland, and Peter, our guide, says, "Be careful of the bogs over there because you can sink." Well, Bill was not real careful. The next thing we see is Bill up to his knees sinking in a bog. And then he
No.
fell forward or fell backwards, and he became rather muddy, so we nicknamed him
Oh,
Muddy Murphy.
okay. Okay. That makes a little sense.
But anyways, it was him who reminded me that it was he who suggested a GoFundMe to fund something other than the one or two.
Where's the money? Come on, Muddy. Where's the money? Show me
Where's the
the
money,
money.
Muddy?
Show me the money.
Yeah. So just so you know, though, when you get the money from the Kickstarter campaign,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have shirt stores in Maui.
I know I'm going to get some more turtle shirts. This is actually a very popular brand of
Is it
shirt here.
really? What?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you are a
Um,
popular brand kind of guy.
the big one
Whoa,
on the
look at
back.
you. Is that
Yeah.
Maui built?
I don't know. It's Maui something. It's just down the road.
Yeah, well, you are like your photography, you are after those one-hit wonder shirts. Hey, by the way, speaking of one-hit wonders,
Are we going to talk about that one good photo that you made once?
no, I don't want to talk about that. It's embarrassing because I now have two, and that's the reason
Oh,
I now use Lightroom. I have two images and I can never organize them. So somebody said, buy Lightroom, you'll be able to organize those two images.
hey, you're on your way to a portfolio. Another 13 or so, you could have a portfolio, John.
That's a lot to ask for me. 13 images, wow, of a single
Uh,
theme. So speaking of that, great segue. That was really well done. So how do you choose? I mean, you've done so many. I'm not near as good at doing folios as you are, or portfolios, whatever we want to call them. So how do you choose? Do you have a notepad that you keep track of all these brilliant ideas you have for the next folio you're going to create and submit to Lenswork?
I actually carried a list around in my shirt pocket for several years, and every time I had an idea, I would jot it down.
Yeah.
Until one day I realized I had never once taken those ideas to fruition.
Wow.
Every idea just came in this moment of inspiration and passion that you run with it. For
Interesting.
me, too much planning takes the joy out of it. So I've got ones as simple as the ceiling lamps, where I was in a hotel lobby and I just happened to look up. And for whatever reason, that lamp fascinated me. I pushed the table aside, I lay on the floor, and wow, that's looking straight up. This was a cool lamp. And started doing that everywhere I went. That was a simple one. I had the ones like the Ghost of Auschwitz, where I just was so depressed with the thoughts of the people who had lived and died where I stood and where I walked. And I just had this thought that I needed to photograph their ghosts.
Yeah.
I had one on the trees from a train where I just was playing with the camera and got this image that it just blew my mind. I didn't understand all of this swirling, and it just got me excited. So for the next 12 hours, I created a portfolio in 12 hours.
Interesting.
They're,
So there's
they're always inspirational.
yeah, and so I think there's some really important footnotes to a couple of those stories for the listeners today. So I think that's great. The first lesson is, at least for you and others might want to try, is just listen to that inspiration. But what happened when you went back and looked at one of those ceiling lamps one time?
Yeah, so 2 years later, I'm going back to Akron, Ohio, to the same hotel, visiting my mother. And I purposely chose that hotel so I could see the lamp that started it all. And I got in there and I stood in the lobby and I looked at that lamp and I go, huh? I don't get it. If I would have seen it on that day, it wasn't inspirational. Why it was that other day, I don't know. So when you see it, you gotta act. You can't say, I'll come back, I'll do it later, I'm gonna be late.
Yeah.
Do it now.
That's a good lesson. And okay, so now the next one is Ghost of Auschwitz was in Birkenau was incredibly successful, incredibly popular, rightly so. To me, it's one of the most important bodies of work that I've ever seen in my lifetime. It's really, really powerful. But what happened, as I recall, didn't somebody say, well, you should do Ghosts of the
Oh,
Castles or something, right?
oh gosh. Yeah, that was a sad lesson. I was riding the wave, so to speak, and people kept saying you need to capitalize on your popularity and do another series, The Ghost of that place in Cambodia, The
Yeah,
Ghost of Little Bighorn, The Ghosts of the Twin Towers, and go to other locations, create ghosts. And I resisted. And then it just became so overwhelming. You know, everybody's telling you you should do it. And I said, okay. So we had just watched that British TV series, The Tudors.
that's
So
right.
we said, let's go to England. We'll take the kids. Took my 13-year-old daughter and a bed sheet. She was going to be my ghost. And we went to all these castles and had her being the ghost with long exposures. And when I got home, it was just a dismal failure in my mind because it didn't come from inspiration. It came as a marketing strategy. There
Uh,
was no passion in it. I was trying to ride a wave. And so I ended up throwing away all the images but
hmm,
one I liked, and all the rest and I asked myself, and my wife would say, well, other people will love this.
huh,
Didn't matter.
uh,
I hated it. It wasn't honest work. And so it never saw the light of day.
it was contrived.
It was contrived. It was a marketing scheme instead of an inspiration or a vision.
Totally. What a valuable story,
Yeah.
Cole. It really is. And we asked in a previous episode about why do you photograph? So for some, I just want to put a little caveat in there. Others might be successful. They might take an idea and duplicate it because they've got to make a living, right? And others might like that thing that they did, and that's okay. I want to make sure that's clear. I mean, as much as you and I want to drill home this idea of photographing what you love, what makes your heart sing, all these little catchphrases that you and I both have, at the same time, it might not be the right answer for somebody else. I mean, so they might have something that's been successful, and to do a variation of that because they need to feed a family is a darn good reason to do that. You and I are both very fortunate that we don't have to photograph for someone else, for a marketing campaign, for an advertising campaign, or whatever, which
Yeah.
then certainly that would drive me crazy. It would drive how I would have to do something.
Yeah. It's a great point. If I had to do something, boy, that'd be a
Yeah,
tough one.
I think it'd be really
Uh,
hard.
I've had people write me and say, I just can't get over this, I don't know, a creative depression. I just can't finish this project. I'm not excited about it. What would you suggest? And I tell them, get a new project. The
Yeah,
right project is the one that you're skipping work and you're going home early because you've got a couple hours of sunlight and you can't wait to get to work on it.
yeah.
That's the kind of passion you need to have for, in my opinion, a successful project. So if you're not excited about your idea, scrap it. Pick something that you are passionate about.
Similar to that, you know what I do way better than I've ever done for a long, long time is when I'm working on post-processing a photograph now. If I'm 20 minutes into it and it's not coming together, I move on.
That's a topic I want to talk about. When to give up.
Yeah, we'll add that for another day.
Yeah.
Um,
So now you've picked a project that you've been working on to submit to Lenswork. Have you submitted it yet?
well, no, I've been in Italy for 5 weeks,
Oh, another excuse. Oh,
but I
how
kid
did
you
you
not.
pick the
Seriously,
topic?
before I leave for the Palouse, it'll be submitted.
How did you pick the project?
That's good. question, because yours, you've explained yours. So mine has not been that way. And this is what I've actually suggested in a little seminar that I was invited to be part of. I went through my collections and my images and started to look to see if I was photographing themes. Was I doing something that had similarity that I could make into a cohesive body of work that might be submitted? And so this particular one, which I'd rather not talk about until it hopefully makes it in, because I'd rather somebody else not take the idea, to be very candid. I finally realized that I had a whole bunch of this particular idea, and it was pretty much a color idea. And then I started to think about the same questions that I always ask myself: is why black and white? Why would I go black and white? And generally it's because I want to strip away. Color gets in the way. It's too visceral. It's more of the subject than it needs to be. And so I stripped away the color in this particular project, and it was like this epiphany. It was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want to do. And that's exactly what these images are about. They're not about color. And so that's how I've got 50 images in a folder. I just need to whittle those down and be a little more serious.
Let's back up to something you said. We can discuss it here or make it for another time. You don't want to talk about it because somebody might steal your idea. I never worry about someone stealing my idea.
Huh.
What they do is their business. I don't care. People say to me, "Oh, would you mind telling me how you did the ghost or how you did the train?" Because knowing those things don't create a vision. They're
Well,
just
I would
at
agree with that.
best copied.
Yeah, and for sure, I freely give information like that away. It's just because of my procrastination and the fear of submitting to the, top of the mountain lens work, I just want to make sure I have a chance with this, maybe what I think is rather unique and has never been submitted. I don't want somebody to jump in and do it. So that's really why it's not.
Whisper it to me, John. I won't tell anybody.
It's these single clouds over things, and I'm going to call it Harbinger. All right.
Oh, goodness.
I'll stop worrying as much about it after I submit it.
Okay. Well, I
All
can't
right.
wait. I can't wait to see that you posting that letter. Dear John, unfortunately, we have not decided to publish. No.
No, it's going to be worse than that. It's going to be, John, you're literally a day late. We just accepted a very similar body
That
of
was
work
my yes.
from Chuck
Oh.
Kimmerly.
I got to go to lunch and meet that guy sometime.
Maybe you should go to your favorite Mexican place.
There you go. Oh my goodness.
I'll let you guys in on the joke.
Okay.
Cole thought he had never met Chuck, and Chuck had to remind him that he met him at his favorite Mexican place in town.
Oh,
So, all right, till the next time, my friend.
okay.